Hello and welcome to Barcelona for round 7 of the Race Spec F1 Esports PS4 Elite Series at the Spanish Grand Prix. My name is Expert, and joining me in the commentary box for tonight's race, please welcome Ken Tenmar.
Another lovely introduction, thank you for that. We are here at Barcelona, Catalonia, the Spanish Grand Prix. It had its first Grand Prix in 1991. The circuit length is 4.655 kilometers, but the tricky part about this track is that much of it is off camber. You have a lot of sweeping bends, and it is a very technical track. Obviously, the F1 cars do their testing here, as is quite balanced between straight line speed and having a downforce to work out what you need for the future season. 33 laps here today, and I'm expecting an outstanding race.
I'm sure it will be. We have I believe a full grid here tonight as well, so it's going to be a very tight race around the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. But let's have a quick look now at your driver's standings. Matthew Dernier leads away at the moment for Ferrari on 68 points. 7 points separate himself and 40.22 in P2 for Williams. Alfa Romeo driver of Darren 11 in third, ahead of Josh M97 for Racing Point in fourth. Toddster fifth, ahead of Zach Crichton, Spilly, I Contrast, Aaron, VRT Chapelele rounds at your top 10. Then it is the harsh driver of Miku, Dougie Falcons in P12, John Paline in 13th, ahead of Bullet Boy, Plebs, Samu Pepito, Pure Gold, Lewis, Crossy, and Geordie rounds out your top 20, ahead of Swaggy and the good guy down in P21 and P22.
We'll just head over to the constructors' standings now, and after Ferrari's outstanding effort last week, they've jumped themselves up onto the top of the constructors' standings on 109 points. Racing Point quickly following them on 86, still within striking distance, and then it's Red Bull on 84. Williams caught up a little bit on 66, Mercedes slowly catching the group on 61, then Renault 50, Alfa Romeo 47, McLaren 35, Toro Rosso 35, and bringing up the rear is Haas on 28 points.
That's going to be a real tight race here this afternoon at the Spanish Grand Prix. Let me know in the live chat as well your predictions for the qualifying session here this afternoon. But the drivers look like they are about to head out for their first laps around the circuit for their qualifying session. 18 minutes they will have to set the fastest lap time possible. But we have a couple of talking points here this afternoon as well. We're going to start off with quali tire. So what is the ideal quali tire around here, Ken Tenmar, to start on? Normally you don't want to be going out on that soft competitor tire because they don't really last long. So is it normally better to start on the mediums or the hards around here?
It depends what you want to do. If you're trying to get in the top 10, obviously you're going to need that medium pace, but generally you only want to do a one-stopper, which will be mediums to hards. So I expect to see most runners out here maybe on hards on their first laps, just to have a look, or even on, it looks like the Toro Rosso coming out on the softs there, so I don't think he'll be setting his qualifying lap on that, as tyre wear becomes a huge issue, not only on the softs, but if you switch over to the hards and try and do a one-stopper, you lose a lot of pace in those last 3 or 4 laps.
So it is very hard to manage your tyres around here, just with the fast-flowing corners, especially through the final sector type of area and the first sector. The second sector is a little bit slower compared to the other two, but just with these fast off-cambered corners, as you talked about in the pre-shows, like as you can see here, the corner Pure Gold's heading to now, you can see the camber switches around as you head through the first left hand and then into that next right kink. The camber actually swaps around, so it goes to off-cambered for the second part, which can throw you off very easily if you don't take the ideal right line or do plant the accelerator, as I've done many times before. It's very easy to spin it and put yourself into the wall there, and I'm sure we'll see a couple of drivers potentially do that here this afternoon. But let's get your predictions here straight off, Ken Tenmar. Who do you reckon is going to be on pole position here this afternoon?
This is a really, really tough one. I believe Swaggy won't be doing his qualifying. I think he has a qualifying ban for an incident in the last race, so he'll be staying in the pits, I expect. I like the look of Aaron here. Look, Matthew Dernier's been racing quite well. I don't know if he has a pole lap in him though. 40. Geordie was really rapid at the start of last race, but didn't follow it into the race. Bullet Boy's always quick around here, and Zach Crichton, you've got to watch him around here as well. So I think this pole's up for grabs. Yeah,
I definitely think there's a couple of drivers that can definitely take pole position here this afternoon. Obviously, we're still waiting for a pretty decent result from one Mercedes driver has managed to score points this season, and that is Zach Crichton. And unfortunately for Plebs, I believe he hasn't scored any points as of yet. So he's still waiting for his time to score points for the Mercedes team. Obviously, he doesn't want to let his teammate Zach Crichton get all the points here this afternoon, because you always want to be beating your teammate in Formula 1. That's the main goal that all the drivers have in set with them, but it looks like Chapelele's heading through the second sector, but he's unfortunately invalidated his time. He ran a little bit wide through turn 3, which is very easy to do, because considering it is a flat-out right-hander in a modern-day F1 car, it's very easy just to understeer the car a little bit and take too narrow of a line heading into the initial part of the corner. It just pushes you out wide, and it looks like Geordie is the first driver that has set a lap time. He sets a 19.7 now. Samu Pepito goes to pole position with a 19 flat, so 40's now jumped up into P2 with a 19.5 for Williams. So all these three at the moment have set times on the hard compounder tyre. Spilly now fastest with a 19 flat, and his teammate takes that away from him now with a 18.8. So now he's the first driver that we have seen in the 1 minute 18s, and that is Josh M97. So Racing Point currently sit 1-2 at the moment.
Yeah, I expect those times to come down a little bit when they all do their medium run. You could probably get what can you get here on a medium for the Elite Series? I would say a low, mid 17 maybe.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the times. So. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the times. I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll have to see what they can do.
Yeah, and talking about tyres, your front right, left gets extremely worn here, so everyone's going to have to keep an eye on that front left and how hot it is getting. You want to run a low tyre pressure here, but the offset of that is that you can get quite high temperatures in the front left, right, so we'll have to see how they go there.
So obviously the two fastest corners on the racetrack are right-handers, and that's turn 3 and turn 9. So turn 3's, if you're doing a fast lap or a qualifying lap, so that's normally flat out in a modern day F1 car, and then turn 9's a flat out corner, well, nearly flat out. It's just a slight lift, I do believe, if you get it right. So High Contrast has just exited that corner, so that's normally one of the fastest corners in this circuit. Also very easy to drop a rear tyre into the dirt on exit as well if you carry a little bit too much speed. And also heading into this corner that he's heading through now, very easy to overcook it. Considering the corner before that, the curb absolutely throws you off if you use too much of it or even too little of it. There's a line that you need to take, and if you don't use that line, you're not going to make the corner. So we're going to have to see how the drivers cope with the difficult track layout that the Spain circuit has, but it looks like it's actually a Renault 1-2 at the moment, with CPL Bullet Boy currently on an 18.7 and Chapelele on an 18.8. So it's currently a Renault 1-2. Then it's a Racing Point 3-4. So it's looking very tight at the moment between our top four. We'll have to see how they go towards the end of the session. Obviously, Chapelele only set a time 5/100ths of a second faster than Josh M97. So we'll have to see. And we haven't seen a lap yet from Plebs, Todd Starr, or Zach Crichton, really. They've all set pretty low lap times. Zach setting a 21.5 down in P13 and Todsa a 26 flat, so they may have made a little error on their laps. Obviously it's only a hard tyre run, but I'm sure we'll see all these drivers go onto the mediums. As Zach goes pole now with an 18.5, so that's a pretty quick lap there. He's the first driver to get himself into that 18.5 mark, so a couple of tenths he has in hand to the two Renaults behind.
Yeah, maybe just keeping his powder dry on that first lap, doing an out lap and then another one, or invalidating maybe and holding on to his ERS to try again on the second lap. It can take a while to get the hards up to temperature here, so it is reasonable to do 2 out laps and then go for your flyer. That wouldn't surprise me if he's done that there.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like Samu Pepito has also got himself up in a P6 with a 19 flat. High Contrast P7. He's currently in a McLaren sandwich at the moment, is the Ferrari driver. So he set a 19.1, 2/100ths of a second faster than John Polainen in P8. P9 is now down 11 for Alfa Romeo. He's just slotted up into the top 10. 40, has now got himself into the top 10 as well for Williams with a 19.5. Geordie is just behind him as well. 5/100ths separate those two. He's in 11th ahead of Crossy. The other Williams in P12. P13 is Miku ahead of Todsa Pure Gold, who unfortunately has not set a lap. Swaggy obviously does have that qualifying ban, I believe, so he will not be setting a lap time here this afternoon. He'll be starting from the rear of the grid. Aaron L304 looks like he's on a lap. Actually, no, he's backed out of it, I think. Actually, no, he hasn't backed out of it. It's his out lap, so we might be able to get a glimpse of his lap when he comes around on the start line. And so is Matthew Donia. He's looks like he's starting a lap as well. He exits the final chicane, which is very easy to lose a rear. As you can see, he's just done. He's really stuffed up that run heading onto the main straight, so he's not going to have the best of straight line speed all the way heading down to turn 1. We're going to ride on board with him as he now sets his first time lap, or is about to set his first time lap. He uses the Esports line heading into turn 1. You want to use as much curb as possible on the inside there of turn 1 and turn 2. You want to flick it out wide on the exit of turn 2 to get the best possible run, but he did do it a little bit too late, unfortunately. That cost him all the way through turn 3 into turn 4. Doesn't really get that apex, so it's been a pretty unfortunate, no, not the word, a bit pretty untidy lap here so far from Matthew Dernier. He hasn't really hit, or as many apexes as I think he would have liked to, as he's heading into the second sector through this left-hander. Manages to keep it all together. Obviously, this is his first lap, so it's probably just a banker. Everyone's actually on the hards at the moment, so no one's actually going out in the medium, so that's quite interesting.
Yeah, you only have one run though. If you choose the harder compounds, you have sort of one set of hards, one set of mediums. So I would expect everyone to keep getting their powder dry, as I said before, and just waiting to do their medium runs later on. As they're still going through to finish this one, another little lock up there. But it's one of those. It's such an odd track on the calendar where if you take half a second off your lap time, you can actually get around here quite safely. It's when you push that extra, a few tenths, you can spin on at least 4 or 5 corners here if you take the wrong line or touch a curb or anything like that. So it is quite an odd track in that respect.
Yep, so it's definitely, there are a couple of corners that are, well, that have the auto spin curb, as some like to call it. Obviously, turn 2 on the apex, it's very easy. If you just touch that curb in the wrong way, you'll just spin around, and then obviously heading through after the hairpin, I believe that is turn 11. The corner where it's just got that curb that absolutely lifts up. It's an off-cambered corner, and it just absolutely throws your car if you hit it wrong, and you've got to correct almost 99% of the time. But Zach who's that in the wall? That's Crossy F1 in the wall. So it looks like he's he's actually been disqualified now as Crossy. So unfortunately, it looks like he was going the wrong way. So unfortunately for the Williams driver, he's not going to be able to continue in this session. He hasn't set a lap time either, so he'll be starting at the rear of the grid. Unfortunately, I think Swaggy's going to be starting P18 here, but I don't think he can do much about that. So one extra spot there for Swaggy. Zach Crichton still sitting on pole position at the moment with a 18.5, but also 40.22 just got himself onto the front row of the grid alongside him with a 7.2. So that's 6/100ths of a second faster than the Renault behind him.
Yeah, it is a little quirk and can be quite frustrating that if you do spin or crash out and then you're stuck in this weird position where you'll get disqualified for driving forwards to try and turn yourself around, but also for driving backwards to try and...
Yes.
So you're sort of stuck in this double-edged sword where either one you pick, you might get disqualified. So a quirk of the game there.
So let's move on to managing tyres real quick. Just as a key talking point, it's obviously very hard to do that around here. As I said before, it's very hard to do that because of the fast flowing corners around the circuit. So what are some key tips that you can normally do to manage your tyres around here? It's, as I said, it is very tricky to do so.
Yeah, well, you don't want to go flat out the entire race. Race management is really important here. Early braking or lifting off the throttle to go into the brakes, and you see that in real F1 where you'll notice that they are braking quite early or even feathering the throttle through. So it'll be up to the drivers to, you're going to have to go through a place in the race where you manage your tyres and manage your fuel, because if you go flat out on this track, it's one of the old ones on the calendar as well where your standard, if you're in standard, your fuel goes down if you are going as fast as you can during the race. So not many other tracks have that rapid fuel decrease, so you do have to manage that as well, and how much fuel you start at the start of the race will be important here as well. So lots of things to consider for all the drivers.
We'll have to see. So that could force, or that might even make a few drivers start with a couple of laps fuel down. Potentially we could see 1 or 2 laps less fuel in the car, and they can try and save that over the races. You don't really need to be pushing in a lot of these areas on the circuit. They're through down the front main straight and heading into turn 10 down the back straight, where the second DRS zone is available on the circuit. That's normally the 2 areas that you really need to push, as they're the 2 main overtaking areas on the race circuit. So you can save ERS pretty easily around here as well. So we'll have to see how the drivers cope with that. But now we've also missed it. Spilly is the first driver now onto the mediums, and he does go to pole with an 18.2. So now Racing Point sits on pole position. This will most likely make a couple more drivers go onto that yellow stripe medium, as now Sammy Pepito's responded to that with an 18.29. So that's only 4/100ths slower than Spilly's time. So unfortunately as well, with the nature of the tyres that the FIA gives you in the Formula 1 game, you're only going to get 1 run on the hards and then 1 run on the medium. So you're only going to, it's going to be a bit tough for the drivers when they all opt to come out, because You want to have fresh air, but I think a lot of the drivers will like to go out towards the end of the session because that's normally when the track is the grippiest.
Yeah, that's right. And it is another thing they might want to make change in Formula 1 2020, the next title, is those tyres in qualifying. It is a little quirk. I mean, we are not in pure qualifying here doing a 20-minute qualifying, but it's still something they could definitely fix up going forward as Billy goes into the pits there. So it might be done for the day.
Well, I'm pretty sure he will because he won't have another set of tyres to set a lap on, unfortunately, will the Racing Point driver. So let's have a look now at a couple of drivers that are on out laps. So 40's coming out of the pits now. He is going on to, well, he is on the medium tyres. Let's see what Todd's is on. He's on the medium tyres as well. Unfortunately, Toddy hasn't set the best of laps so far. He's on a 19.2 at the moment. He's about a second off the pace down in P14 as the Red Bull driver, so he's definitely going to want to improve on that time. He's not normally a driver that is out of the top 10, so he'll want to secure that for Red Bull. Pure Gold down in P17 as well as coming out of the pits on the medium, so I'm sure now that Spilly and Samu have all chucked on that medium tyre, they're all going to respond as Contrast now goes third fast with a 18.3, so pretty tight at the moment between the top three that have set a lap time on the mediums.
Yeah, and I was just going to point out there are a few drivers who are very good with time management and tyre strategies, and my Contrast is one of those I was going to mention. He's very good at managing his tyres and how much wear is on them. Another one down in 11th is Jumper Line, and Samu Pepito tends to be good on the tyres as well and managing them. So it's going to be a good race. A lot of strategy, a lot of it brings a lot of the drivers who are good at managing the race into it. It's not just about sheer speed around here, I don't think.
Crossy said the game is great in the live chat, so it's unfortunate there, Crossy. Did you just hit the wall? I'm assuming you've probably hit the curb and then just spun it around, I'm assuming. So hopefully you can confirm that for us in the live chat, but that's unfortunate for the Williams driver. He will be starting from the rear of the grid.
It sounds like he just got stuck in that awkward spot where you get disqualified no matter which way you drive the car, which is unfortunate, but it can happen in the title F1 2019.
Yeah, most definitely. As you can see now, 40's on a fly. He's heading to the final sector. We're going to ride on board with him. He now heads into the final chicane section of the circuit. Very easy to hit this left inside curve there too much, and then you normally want to drive over that final corner, or that penultimate corner there actually. You don't get invalidated normally if you go four wheels off the track, but now 40 comes across the line, pole position with a 17.8, so he is now the first drive into the 1 minute 17, so he's a couple of tenths, well, he's got a couple of tenths in hand from himself and Spilly in P2, so we'll have to see what the others can do. Zach Crimes only managed to go, actually no, he didn't set that on the mediums, never mind. He's on his out lap at the moment, is Zach Crimes, and so is CPL Bullet Boy, so a lot of the drivers will be on an out lap at the moment. I think VRT Chapalele, he's actually done a lap on these mediums, so I'm not too sure if he's actually made a mistake through turn 1 and he's backed out of it, because he's running a none at the moment, so not too sure what's up with him. Geordie F1's also starting a lap.
Geordie F1, he'll be disappointed being down there on a 9 flat, although that's not too bad on hard, so we'll see what he can do on the mediums.
He's currently on a 19 flat at the moment, is Geordie F1, so that's 3/100ths of a second faster than his teammate of Miku in P13. So the two Haas's, I'd probably say they're the two drivers that have been locked together all season, but we could say that as well about the F1, like real F1 as well. Those two are always locked together, of Grosjean and Magnussen. Not for the same reasons as Geordie and Miku are, but yeah, so we'll have to see how these two go this afternoon. They're going to be wanting to take home some good points. Obviously, they are down at the rear of the constructor standings, only on 28 points at the moment, so they're going to want to improve that here this afternoon at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Oh, and look at the toe working together nicely, the Haas, as Geordie gets a toe from Miku down the straight.
He also went purple there, did Geordie. So he could be on for a good lap here, could the Haas driver, as he heads into the final sector now. Does actually have a little bit of traffic in front of him, so hopefully they all get out of the way. It is a Toro Rosso there. I think that was Aaron, actually not Aaron, Pure Gold. As he now heads through the final corner, goes the Haas driver. What time is he going to be able to set? No ERS left in the tag. He goes fastest with a 17.8. Now does Geordie, so that's 2/100ths faster. Now Josh M97 a pole, so with a 17.7, so the times are definitely getting faster. Here towards the end of the session, obviously everyone is now chucking on that medium compound of tyres. So now Josh M97 for Racing Point sits on pole position, and now the Bullet Boy into P2 with the 17.8. So the Renault now jumps up onto the front run. Zach Crichton now goes pole with a 17.5. So the times are getting much quicker here as the session goes on.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back there. I was spot on with the fastest times on the mediums.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find another driver.
Two other drivers here. Everyone is going quicker, so
Samu
that
as well.
pole is not nailed down yet.
So Samu's going out again on the same tyre. So I believe this is the same tyre. Oh, he's nearly lost it through the final corner. So I don't think he's going to improve on this lap. He doesn't. So unfortunately for Samu, he will be starting in P8, and I believe he'll be starting on very worn tyres. So he did, because you only get one set of mediums, I believe. So yeah, he's going to be I believe he did 2 laps on those, so that's really going to hurt him. 40's now jumped up into P3 with a 17.8, so top 3 are pretty tight at the moment between each other. John Polina now into P5 as well for McLaren ahead of Geordie, who unfortunately was on pole position provisionally and then got pushed down a little bit. 1/1000 separated John Polina and Geordie in the end there. Spilly has dropped down to P7 ahead of Matthew Dernier in P8, P9 Aaron L3F4. And rounding out your top 10 will be his teammate of Todser. And now he's just been pushed out because Darren Levin's now got himself up into the top 8. So nice lap at the end there from the Alfa Romeo. P12 will be Samu ahead of Eye Contrast, Miku, Pure Gold. Plebs with a disappointing result down in P16. Chapelele 17th. And unfortunately for Swaggy with that qualifying ban, he'll be starting from 18th. And Crossy, who unfortunately got disqualified early on in the session for reversing, trying to flick the car back around to get another lap in. Unfortunately for him, he got disqualified for driving backwards on the track, but that looks like your grid has been set here this afternoon for the Spec F1 Esports PS4 Elite Series at the Spanish Grand Prix. Let me know in the live chat real quick as well who you predict's going to win the Grand Prix. Let's get your predictions right here, Kentema. Who do you think's going to win?
I'm liking the look of Josh M97. He's been consistent all season. I expect him to put another good performance in for Racing Point. He's going to be my pick of the day.
I don't know. I reckon Josh, he won in Brazil, I believe it was. So I think that was his first win of the series. Cause, yeah, that's right. He did win in Brazil because we thought he's previously was known as VRT Josh. He did the first couple of rounds under that name and then swapped it over to Josh M97. So let's have a look here to see what the gaps were. So 1 second separated the top 14 here, and 1.3 seconds separated the whole field that managed to set a lap. Unfortunately for Chapelele, he only got a lap in on the hard, so that's why he's all the way down to MP17, is the German. Swaggy and Crossy obviously did not get a lap in the end. But let's head over to the grid now. We'll be back with you shortly. Stay tuned for the Spanish Grand Prix. So as you can see on your screens now, the drivers are about to start their formation lap around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Let me know some more predictions in the live chat as well. We'll try and read them out on stream. But quick reminder of yesterday's qualifying session. Zach Crichton took pole position for Mercedes ahead of Josh M97. Zach was, I believe, a 10 faster than Josh in the end. So it is very tight between our top three. I believe they were all separated by under 2 tenths. So it's going to be tight here this afternoon between himself, Josh, and 40. CPL Bullet Boy managed to get P4 for Renault ahead of John Polline and MP5. P6 was Geordie. So 6 different teams in the top 6. So that's a very good job there from all our constructors. P7 was Spilly ahead of Darren Levin and P8. P9 Matthew Donia for Ferrari, and then rounding out your top 10 was Aaron L3F4. He leads his teammate Todd to P11, who will be the first driver who is able to put in a new set of tyres. Sammy Pepito MP12. P13 I Contrast F1. P14 Miku for Haas. P15 Pure Gold in the Toro Rosso ahead of Plebs down in P16. P17 is CPL Bullet Boys teammate VRT Chapelele, who I think unfortunately invalidated his lap on the mediums, and he only was able to get a lap in on the hard, so that's hence why he's down in P17. Swaggy had a qualifying ban. Unfortunately, he was handed by the stewards, so he will be starting from the rear of the grid, but unfortunately, because Crossy got disqualified from the qualifying session due to him reversing or trying to just actually flick spin the car around to get it facing the right way. He got disqualified from the session, so that's why he's starting down in P19. But it's going to be a tight one here this afternoon for the Spanish Grand Prix. As you can see, they're all pretty spread out at the moment. Zach Crichton's heading through the final corner, and Crossy's still heading, well, not even into the final chicane, so he's going to be waiting there a bit, is Zach Crichton. He didn't really slow him up, so this could hurt him a little bit when it comes to tyre temperatures, but we'll have to see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting race here this afternoon.
Certainly is. The grid's mixed up a little bit there. Swaggy with the band, who's normally at the pointy end. Plebs down in 16th will be disappointed with that. I watched his lap. He had a fair bit of Tokyo drift coming out of the last corner, so that will cost him a fair few tenths. High contrast down there. He'll be quick from there. John Polline with one of his best qualifying in 5th. He'll be one to watch, and he is good at managing the tyres as well. So it should be a good race.
Waiting for Crossy now to form up in his grid spot. We'll be waiting for green flags to be waved and the light sequence to begin. As you can see, the lights are now coming up for the drivers. 5 red lights ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix. And we are underway. Zach Crichton gets a pretty nice start, but looks like Josh gets a better start. He's going to draw alongside him heading into turn 1, but it looks like Zach got the better secondary start. He's going to try and go around the outside now. Is Josh heading into turn 1? Does he get it done around the outside? No, he doesn't. And 40's going to hold on to P2, but P3 rather, and Bullet Boy's actually trying to do it, and there's Aaron down the back. There's a massive crash between a bunch of drivers at the rear of the grid.
Yeah, it's taken over about 4 or 5 drives. Todd Stubb, Plevs, Aaron, both Red Bulls down there. Darren 11, Pure Gold involved as well. So huge incident at the back, and it's taken a lot of drivers out of contention.
And it looks like Bullet Boy here and 40 are going to go side by side heading into this next left hand, and 40's going to hold onto the position. The Renault's looking really racy at the beginning of this race. It looks like John Pollinen's also moved up a spot into P5. P6 is Geordie F1 ahead of Spilly in P7. So actually, did Spilly have a penalty? I think, did you say that pre-race? Did he have a 5-place grid penalty or something?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I don't know what I was talking about there. Sorry about that. Spilly in P7 ahead of Matthew Donia. Contrast up to P9. Look at that. Matthew Donia down the inside. There of Spilly trying to get the move done, but wasn't able to get far enough up, and Spilly cut him off there heading into the hairpin. Very risky thing to do, but obviously he's right on the rear of the Haas of Geordie F1 in front of him, putting a lot of pressure on that Haas car. All these drivers are super tight.
I think he's up to P10 now after going around all the carnage, it appears.
So Zach Crichton leads after the first lap of the Grand Prix. Plebs unfortunately shot to the rear of the grid as well. Will he be pitting this lap? He is. So he's going to go onto the hard tyres, I believe, and then maybe chuck on another set of mediums towards the end of the race. But Zach Crichton leads heading onto lap 2. He's got 1/10 between himself and Josh M97. Actually, it's not 1/10. There's a couple more tenths than that. Actually, he's got a massive gap here, Zach Crichton already. The timing's a little bit glitched, I think, so I apologise for that, but as you can see, Zach's got at least a second there already between himself and Josh.
A big gap.
So Josh
is doing a lot of defending.
He is. He just ran a little bit wide heading through that left-hander. Looks like he just put the brake pedal on a little bit too late. Unfortunately, pushed him out wide. 40's right there to take any advantages of him making a mistake. Bullet Boy in P4. P5, John Polinen ahead of Geordie in P6 for Haas. He's starting to pull away now from Spilly is Geordie. And it looks like that's eye contrast there as well. Just dipped his tyre into the dirt, but he's actually up into the top 10 now from P13. So contrast is at a mega start. Swaggy's up 8 spots as well. So he's been the driver that has gone up the most places at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Miku and Crossy are swapping positions as well. It looks like the Haas driver is now up into P14 ahead of the Williams, who did start from the rear of the grid, so he hasn't had the worst of starts either. Not too sure if he does have any damage on that Williams car. There were a couple of incidents at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but unfortunately for Red Bull, both of their drivers who were in P10 and P11 are all the way back down to P18 and 17 now. So Christian Horner is not going to be happy at the moment with the driving standards of some of the drivers. Obviously, I didn't get a view of what happened. Did you see what may have caused the incident on the exit of turn 1?
No, I didn't quite see it. I had my focus on the front like you. I saw it in the very back of the screen that I was viewing on, and the Red Bulls were sideways, and then a couple of other cars just got caught up in all of it. So whether they hit each other or they're the unfortunate side effect of some other clash, I'm not sure.
So Zach has got a 2-second lead now, heading on to lap 3 of 33. So he now has 30 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix. 40 is right there still with Josh M97. He just needs to stay within DRS range here of the Racing Point.
Swaggy's gone off.
Oh, he has. So on the exit. Oh, he nearly takes Aaron out with him there. So that was heading through turn 9. As we have said there, it is very easy to just get on that gas pedal a little bit too early and just push yourself out wide. So unfortunately, I think that's what's happened to Swaggy here, and Plevs all the way down in P19. He's heading through the first sector at the moment. He's just crossed over into the second, so his race isn't looking too good here, and he doesn't look like he's going to be scoring any points here this afternoon.
He'll need a safety car if he wants to get back into the top 10, that's for sure.
Definitely is. He'll need to go back onto the mediums, I believe, towards the end of the race. I don't think pushing those hards out all the way towards the end of the race will get him onto softs, but Zach's still trying to edge that lead away. Now it's out to 2.5, and it looks like Pure Gold and Chapelele have swapped positions, and now Harrison of the Toro Rosso has now got himself up into P11. Darren 11 also has made a move on Todd stuff, so into P14 he now heads, but actually Toddy's got ahead of Crossy, I believe, as well. So now Aaron's dropped off a little bit to this battle pack. He's a couple of seconds, so he's 1.1 seconds between himself and Crossy. This little battle pack here is starting to spice up as well for P10, I believe this is. So we have to see how this goes, and hopefully no one makes any contact between all these drivers.
Yeah, Chapelele's had a pretty good start to this race.
We've done Matthew Dernier. He's done the same thing as what Swaggy's done. So unfortunately for Matthew Dernier, he has spun around in the exact same spot as what we saw Swaggy do.
So tricky. You want to keep up your pace there so you don't have to defend too much down that straight, but if you do clip the outside at all, you are going around.
Oh, he's been turned!
Just hit the back.
He's turned him. So
Swaggy's just hit the back of Dernier and turned him right around.
So unfortunately, that's going to be something the stewards are going to have to look into here. So it was definitely Swaggy's fault. He hit the rear tyre of Matthew Dernier, and that unfortunately spun him around on the exit of turn 11. So I'm not too sure. Willie Pitt, he doesn't have any damage, does Matthew Dernier, but his tyre's going to be super hot, especially considering he's on medium. So that's going to take a lot of life out of those tyres. So he may be pitting around. Normally you want to pit around lap 13, lap 12 if you start on the medium tyre. I'm not too sure what it is when you start on the hards. Do you have any idea?
When you're starting on the hards, about lap 18, I think, yeah, 18, 19. And there, yeah.
It's very hard to... The problem is as well, the mediums do drop off in pace very quickly, but they kind of, once they drop off, they don't really keep dropping off in a way. They kind of sit at the same wear, if you know what I mean. So it's... I need to stop saying what do you mean, but anyway.
They hit a nice plateau,
that's
and they just consistently slow, but you do have to stay on them and keep going as best you can, even though you are not going as fast as you possibly could be. You could do a Hamilton and just radio the pit wall all the time. Telling my tyres are done. I need to come on.
So just, with the fast nature of this track, it's also very easy to overcook your tyres as well, which really doesn't help considering a lot of these corners are so fast. It will make it just so easy to spin your car around. But Zach has now almost got almost 3 seconds between himself and Josh M97, who still has 40 right behind him. So 40 has 25% ERS and Josh has a little bit more, 35 actually. So that's a bit surprising. I would have thought Josh would have a little bit less, but we're also not too sure about what the weather's doing. It looks like there's a bit of cloud cover over the circuit as well, so we could potentially see some rain here this afternoon. We haven't been updated by any drivers either, so I'm not too sure if it will rain. But CPL Bullet Boy is holding on to P4 at the moment. Jumpalainen has Geordie F1 behind him, but he's kind of got a comfortable gap. Jesus, the voice crack. He's kind of got a comfortable gap between himself and Geordie behind. He's just within DRS here is Geordie. So that's what's holding him between him, Jumpalainen. Unfortunately for the McLaren driver, he's not within DRS of Bullet Boy, so he's going to start to be reeled in now by Geordie and Spilly, and potentially even I Contrast at the moment. He's holding on. He's got himself up to P8 now as Contrast ahead of Sammy Pepito, so he's done a pretty nice job here as Contrast.
Yeah, I'm fairly impressed with Bullet Boy as well. He's showing a lot of patience here behind 40 and Josh. He's got nearly full ERS, so he's definitely waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. Stalking his prey a little bit here, I feel.
So Miku looks like he's just made a move on Darren 11 as well, so into P12 he now heads, but Darren is obviously going to have DRS here on Miku, but he's not going to be close enough this time around. This was the battle for P12 as well, as they now head into turn 1 they go. They will now be trying to focus on VRT Chapelele, as now VRT Chapelele is our first driver that has been penalised due to corner cutting, so he has a 3-second time penalty to his name already. Does the Renault driver. He did start at the back of the grid as well, did Chapelele, so he's done a pretty good job to get himself up to P11. He hasn't really been talked about so far as well, so nice job there from the Renault.
Yeah, he is doing quite well managing the race on those hard tyres. He's not too far behind the rest of the pack at the moment. The Red Bulls are in a bit of a battle between Crossy and, yeah, the second half of the field is all very close to each other, really, and quite a lot of good battling going in the back.
Yeah, there's 3 main battle packs at the moment. There's one between Josh M9740, and it looks like the Harsh driver actually is going to try and make a move here on Darren 11, actually on Chapelele. That's Miku and Chapelele going side by side now. We're going to ride on board with Darren as he has the best seat in the house. So they head into the final sector. It looks like Chapelele was able to hold on to it here, but Miku obviously will have DRS available to him heading down the main front straight, and so will Darren. So we could potentially see Darren making a move here on Chapelele as well as they head through the final corner now. Didn't get very good drive off there to Darren, so that's hurt him all the way down the main straight, but it looks like Miku has a pretty decent run. He's got a slipstream and DRS going, heading down the main straight. Will he dive down the inside? Chapelele defends the inside line, but he's going to try and go around the outside. Will he be able to do what Rosberg did to Hamilton? He's tried to hold it there, and he's got the move done. Has he? No, Chapelele has managed to keep up the momentum, and he's going to hold on here, but they're still side by side, heading through turn 3, and he's going to go around the outside now. Is Miku. They're lagging a little bit on my screen, but it looks like the Harsh driver he's got himself up into P11. What a move. He's been turned. The Chapelele's just been turned. So unfortunately there, Toddster's completely turned Chapelele, and he's just been hit now. I think we'll see a safety car. There is a virtual safety car now. So unfortunately for Crossy, he's kind of gotten himself caught up in that. Wasn't really his fault, and now he will drop down to P16, and he does have front wing damage to the left end plate of that Williams car, so he's going to have to come into the P. He actually doesn't have any left side of his front wing there, so he's going to have to definitely come into the pits here, is Crossy. So that's unfortunate for him. He'll be hoping that safety car stays out for a little longer so he can try and get back around to the pits, but Zach Crichton nearly 4 seconds separates himself and Josh, who's actually pulled out of DRS now between himself and Josh. Actually, look here, 40's got a very nice run here on Josh, so I think Josh has had the little glitch in the game with the Delta. And now 40, I think 40's going to let him go here, is he? Actually, no, they're going 3 wide into turn 1. So, yeah, I think 40 may have let him go there, to be honest. I think 40 just rolled out the gas because he knew that Josh may have got that little glitch in the game, and he's actually run really wide. He is now 40. And now Bullet Boy, will he take any advantage? Yeah, so 40 is under a lot of pressure at the moment. He doesn't only have to try and pass Josh M97 in front. He has Bullet Boy right behind him as well. So any mistake there from the Williams driver, Bullet Boy's just going to take full advantage of it. And there's also another little battle pack starting to form here between Geordie and Jumpalainen. This is the McLaren versus Haas. This is for the battle on P5. And I think Geordie's just made a move on Jumpalainen as well. So the Haas driver's now up in a P5. Spilly's starting to catch up to the rear of that McLaren gearbox as well.
Yeah, some great little battles going on at the moment in these little packs, and yeah, the incident down there with Todster, he got a really good run on Darren 11 as we were on board with Darren 11, and we saw he got a really bad exit on that straight, and he was able to slipstream him and get past him, and as the two in front of him were battling, they were going quite slow through the next few corners, and Todster looks like he's just caught up and been a little caught out at how they were battling going side by side and how slow they were braking for the next corner and hit the back. of Chapelele, and that's spun him around.
To the current order as they now start lap 10 of 33 in the Grand Prix. Zach Crichton leads away ahead of the Racing Point of Josh M97. 40 MP3 at the moment for Williams ahead of Bullet Boy, Geordie, Jump Line and Spilly. Eye Contrast, Samu Pepito and Pure Gold rounds out your top 10. So he's had a pretty good start to the race as well, has Pure Gold. He's up 5 spots from P15. Miku down to MP11. He's also up 3 spots. Toddster, Darren and Aaron have all unfortunately lost positions off the start. So Toddy's actually got himself back up to P12. So it's been a pretty solid recovery drive so far from Toddy, considering himself and his teammate were down in P17 and 18. Swaggy in P15, P16 is Matthew Dernier. P17 is Plebs, who has made a pit stop on the first lap of the Grand Prix, and Crossy down in P18, who has also made a pit stop on the previous lap. And unfortunately for Chapelele, he is the first retirement of the Grand Prix. This battle's still spicing up here between Josh, 40 and CPL Bullet Boy. It looks like Josh has a little edge on 40 heading through the first and second sector, but I think 40 catches it all back up in the final. And Bullet Boy's just really saving up his ERS here. As you can see, he's got 97% left in that battery, so he's doing a pretty solid job at the moment to save that amount of ERS.
Yeah, he might be waiting for either 40 to make a mistake out of that last chicane, or for himself to get just an amazing run through there where he can really take advantage. But he's in an awkward position where 40's got DRS as well, so it's quite hard to catch up down that straight when both cars have DRS. Just going through the field here as well, and John Polainen's lost a couple of positions, one to Bullet Boy and Geordie. Spilly's catching up. Eye Contrast is just cruising along. He's about 4 or 5 seconds behind Spilly, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to. He is on the hard tyres though, so he should be able to make up some ground there.
John Polainen is still obviously in this battle. He's now got Spilly right behind him, so Spilly's trying to shape up a move here on John Polainen. May even try. I don't think he'll be able to make it into the hairpin of turn 12, but he may try and set it up for the main start finish straight. As we also saw before, CPL Bullet Boy, I believe that was, that made a little error heading through the exit of turn 3. He ran a little bit wide, so I think he may have got himself a warning there. I think it may even be his first warning of the Grand Prix. He ran a little bit wide, I think, just sitting in 40's dirty air. He may just understeer the car a little bit. Didn't really get through that chicane very nicely. He's lost a lot of time there to 40, as he now will have DRS available to him, as there's 7/10 of a second between himself and 40 in front. 40's really gaining here on Josh heading down the straight, so Josh has chucked it down to none heading into turn 1, trying to save as much as possible. Zach at the moment doesn't look like he's going to be catchable at the stage unless the safety car does obviously come out. But yeah, normally this will be when we start to see some drivers coming into the pits. Lap 13 areas. It looks like Swag is now overtaken Aaron for P14 in this Grand Prix. So the Alfa Romeo makes a move on the Red Bull.
And the undercut can work here if you can get those hards up to temperature. It can be difficult, but it's not impossible. An overcut is also possible as well. So it just depends where you are on the track and how much traffic is in front of you and where you're going to come out after your pit stop, if you're going to get some clean air or not. Because we can see there are a lot of little trains going on. So a couple of drivers will be thinking about coming into the pits here to give themselves some clean air.
Most definitely, but will we see Zach Crun in this lap, or will he stay out for that extra lap? You can easily get the tyres towards the end. Well, not easily, but if you save them or don't push them too hard, you can get them to the end on lap 12, but he does look like he's staying out for an extra lap. Do we see Josh in the pits? We do, so 40's also going to follow him in here. CPL Bullet Boy reckons he can stay out for an extra lap, but I think that's going to hurt him because being on those hards is just so much quicker at the start, but obviously will be better towards the end of the race, but I think he should have pitted there. I think this might cost him a little bit of time to the drivers behind, unless they do get held in the pits, because there's a couple of drivers now into the pit lane. It looks like Toddy's going to follow them in as well, so is Darren. So 4 drivers now into the pit lane, all swapping on to the medium tyres now. Bullet Boy, 3-second penalty. So we talked about it before. Bullet Boy ran a little bit wide through turn 3, and unfortunately now he's just got himself a 3-second penalty, so that kind of takes him out of the race at this stage. As not many drivers in this league tend to get penalties, or very often. There's not like some of the other leagues where they're maybe not as experienced, but all these drivers obviously are running no assists as well, and they're at the top of their game. These are some of the top PS4 drivers in the world, so very tight between a lot of these drivers. Zach Crichton leads away at the moment now. 3.6 seconds between himself and Bullet Boy. Obviously, Josh M97 and 40 have made a pit stop. And will be...
Yeah, 40's coming into a bad spot here. He's in between Swaggy and Aaron, and that's given Josh a little jump out of those pits. And 40 will want to get ahead of Swaggy, but Swaggy's going to stay out on those hards for a long time and appears to have quite a bit of pace. Bullet Boy, I'm not sure. If he's coming to the pits now, and it does take time to get the hards up to temperature, and the others did come out into traffic, so it could be alright here. We'll have to wait and see.
A couple of drivers now into the pit lane of Bullet Boy, Zach Crichton. It looks like John Polanen's in the pit lane as well, and so is Miku. So he now exits the pits, does Zach Crichton. Spilly will be now put into the lead of the Grand Prix, as he has not made a pit stop as of yet. He is on the hard tire. No, he's on the medium still, is Spilly. So I'm not too sure. He's staying out for a pretty long time. I definitely thought he would have pit on that lap 13, but yeah, he's staying out for a while.
It hurt Bullet Boy quite a bit. He's over 2 seconds behind 40 now, so that hurt him a lot, not going in with the others. So the overcut or the undercut worked out quite well, and Bullet Boy's got some time to catch up now.
He runs really wide there, and he nearly puts it. He nearly loses the car there to Bullet Boy. He just dipped that tyre into the gravel on the exit of that corner. He was lucky to save it there. Was Bullet Boy, but he does have his 40 in front of him in that Williams, but he's obviously lost a lot of time. He definitely should have pitted that same lap as Josh M97 and 40 did. I think that was the smartest thing to do. I don't think 40 would have been planning to pit that lap either, but he just I think he just wanted to follow what Josh was doing in front, so he didn't lose any time to the racing point in front of him. As now Spilly's into the pit lane as well.
We still have a few drivers out on the hards that need to come in. They'll come in probably lap 18, 19, 20, around there, just depending how they're feeling and how their tyres are going at the moment. As Shane Clark has called Spilly for the win. It's going to be difficult for Spilly to get the win from down there if he's just coming out of the pits. We need a safety car, that's for sure. Yeah,
we haven't seen a safety car as of yet. Well, we've seen a virtual safety car, but not a full course safety car as of yet. So it's still to come potentially. I believe only 2-3 drivers had penalties so far. So, and I don't believe any of the main runners besides Bullet Boy have them. So we'll have to see how that goes. If you want to potentially even update us here, Ken, just to see what the penalties are going with the top 5 of Zach Crichton, Josh, 40, and Bullet Boy. Well, we know what Bullet Boy has, so yeah, just maybe those 3. Just let us know, see what's going on with them. But Contrast is up 12 spots at the moment, same as Pepito, Pure Gold, and Miku. Obviously, those guys have all started on the hard compounded tire, so they'll be out for a while. As you can see now, Zach Crichton getting frustrated behind Miku. He's getting held up at the moment behind these hard tyre runners. He will get DRS though down this main straight. I don't think Miku will put up too much of a fight though between himself and Zach, as he runs a little bit wide heading through the final corner there does Miku, but Zach's gonna have a very nice run here heading down the main straight. I personally don't think Miku should fight it too much. Well, Zach dived down the inside. He thought about it, but he didn't actually get the move done. He didn't have enough straight line speed there, did Zach, in that Mercedes car. So this is really going to hurt him here to Josh M97. There's 3.3 seconds separating himself and the racing point behind at the moment. But do you know what the go is at the moment with those warnings?
Yep. Yeah, so Bullet Boy is the only one who's got a penalty. And we've got an incident. Who's gone off there? That's Pure Gold. It looks like Pure Gold's gone off. Sorry, I was watching Josh and 40, and it looks like Pure Gold's just spun around in front of them.
There he is.
Sorry, no warnings for anyone else. So Bullet Boy's the only one who's exceeding the track limits out of those top drivers.
So they're all doing a pretty good job at the moment to keep it within the track limit. So Shane Clark here has just clarified for us. I only just started watching. That was a guess. That was just a guess. So yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see. So at the moment, Spilly just has made his pit stop. So his first scheduled pit stop. So now he's all the way down in P12. So the provisional leader of the Grand Prix at the moment, or the first of the drivers that have made a pit stop, is Zach Crichton. He's now finally got ahead of Miku, who has not made a pit stop as of yet. He nearly loses the rear end heading through that final corner. But I don't think Pure Gold will put up too much of a fight here. I do know these two are mates, so I don't think he'll hold up Zach Crichton too much. But he's also in his own in a race of his own. is Pure Gold, so he doesn't really want to give that up between himself and Samu Pepito in that McLaren. So there's another yellow flag in Sector 3. Don't think that's for anyone. I think that's just a local yellow.
Yeah, there's a McLaren that's Renault that's off. Sorry, Bullet Boy's off. Bullet Boy has come off.
Oh, he's gone off in the spot that we talked about before.
Spun again.
Pure
Gold has spun again. But Bullet Boy is off, and he's lost a lot of time. He's in positions. He's down. He's lost John Paline, and Geordie and Spilly are now past him.
So who did you say spun around? Are you sure it was Pure Gold? Because he's still gone.
Yeah, Bullet Boy and Pure Gold went off.
Pure Gold's still right behind
Bullet Boy's hit again. Bullet Boy has hit, spun again, and he's in the middle of the track. Oh, Pure Gold nearly Bullet Boy.
I'm not sure if I'm watching the same thing, I'll be honest. He's gone again, but okay.
Bullet Boy's gone again, yeah.
So
I think Pure Gold might be glitching.
This Pure Gold's up in P3 at the moment, right behind Samu for me. He's now pulled into the pits as Samu, so Pure Gold now is crossing the line. He's in P2 at the moment for myself. So I'm not too sure. It might be a bit different on your screen. But he's actually getting overtaken now by Niku. Sorry, no, by Zach. So Pure Gold's getting past here. And by the harsh driver. He gets barged out of the way there. Does Pure Gold by Miku. So Bullet Boy is now retired from the Grand Prix on the racetrack. So will we see a safety car here? There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. He has retired on the exit of Turn 9. So we could potentially see the first safety car of the Grand Prix. I think the race stewards would have called it by now. But looks like they're all going to stay out. So now Zach Crine has got ahead of Miku and Pure Gold. So iContrast will be the next driver he will have to face. He's 4.2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, I think Pure Gold is completely glitched between us. So I'll have to listen to you as to where he is on the track. Because I have him down in 13th and jumping all over the grid at the moment. So,
yeah, okay. Yeah, for me he's quite solid in P4. He's not really lagging.
Okay.
On my screen, he's in P4 at the moment, 0.5 of a second behind Miku. So yeah, I'm not too sure what's happening there.
A few issues there with the telecast. I've got a ghost Pure Gold on my screen, but that's fine.
So unfortunately,
I'm doing quite well. Only 1 second ahead of Miku.
Oh, they're all pitting. So the hard runners are all starting to come into the pits. iContrast stayed out for another lap, but Miku and who was that, Pure Gold, both just dived into the pit lane as Zach does go fastest now. He's he's starting to reel in iContrast in front of him, 40. And Josh M97 is still going at it for the battle of provisional P2 in this Grand Prix. But unfortunately as well, both the Renaults will not be scoring points here this afternoon. They're down. They have both retired from the Grand Prix, so they are currently sitting in P6 in the standings, and they're going to drop all the way, I believe, down to P8 at this stage. Yeah, so P8 at the moment. For them, so that's really going to hurt them. And not only the constructors, but also drivers' championship. So unfortunately for them, it's not been the best of days here, but it definitely looks like it's starting to get darker. I don't know if it is on your screen as well, but it looks like it's getting darker as the clouds come over as well. So we could potentially even see some rain here. We're not too sure, but I think we may see Contrast come into the pits this lap just to respond to Miku and Pure Gold boxing. As they will start lap 20 when they cross the line.
He'll have to, or he'll lose way too much time. He's definitely been caught out a little bit there, although they're going to do 15 laps, possibly 14 on the mediums, so they're pushing those mediums right to the limit on those last couple of laps. So that brings Zach Crichton now into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously
there will be fresh mediums as well, because they did not have to qualify on them. Normally doing qualifying you can take around 5% or anywhere between 5 to 3% out of your tyres doing one lap during a qualifying session. So that's obviously going to hurt them a little bit, and obviously in the race you don't wear your tyres out anywhere near as quick, so they could potentially get it to the end. They're pushing it around 13 laps, so I think they'll comfortably get to the end as Samu Pepito goes fastest with a 20.5. He's unfortunately not in the top 10 at the moment, so he won't be able to score that extra point for his driver's standing, so he's down in P12 at the moment, is the McLaren driver. But Zach Crine, 2.2 seconds separates himself and Josh. Unfortunately for him, he's lost about a second and a bit between himself and Josh due to just being caught up behind the hard tyre runners that had not made a pit stop. So we'll have to see if he's able to pull away from the rest of the pack.
Just down the field, a little battle between Matthew Durnia and Crossy's just gone on, and Matthew Durnia's made that place. and it looks like he's going to hold on to it. So Matthew Dernier's got it in front of Crossy there.
Fortunately, Swaggy's left the session as well, so these guys are going to catch up to Swaggy pretty quickly. There's 5 seconds between them, but unfortunately Swaggy's AI car will be driving for him, so I believe it's on around 40% AI, so there's going to be going pretty slowly. It's going to cost Swaggy a lot of time here, unfortunately for himself, so hopefully he can join the session back as soon as possible. Plebs is now up into P16, catching up to Matthew Dernier and Crossy in front, so unfortunately for Plebs, he's still not going to be able to score any points here this afternoon. I believe he hasn't scored any points. I'll double check for you now. But I'm pretty confident he hasn't scored anything as of yet. Actually, he has scored points. 18
got
points.
Points last race.
He did. So he's in P15 at the moment for the standings. He's on 18 points. Equal points with Bullet Boy, but at this stage, actually, it will stay the same at this stage between Bullet Boy and Plebs. But Zach Crichton's down in P6 in the standings at the moment on 43 points. But if he can take the win home this afternoon, that's definitely going to get him up a few more spots. Unfortunately, Toddster, the man sitting in P5 of the driver's standings at the moment, hasn't had the best of Grand Prix either, but he's actually managed to get himself up in the top 8. So he's done a pretty good recovery drive here as Toddster, but Aaron, his teammate, down in P17 at the moment. He's sitting in P9 in the standings, so he's going to drop out of the top 10, I'm pretty sure. As Chapelele, I believe, is in the top 10. Actually, no, he's retired, so never mind. So, yeah, I'm confusing myself now, to be honest. But, yeah, I think Aaron's going to drop a couple of positions in the championship here this afternoon.
This battle between Josh and 40 just wages on. They've been tied at the waist, and they can't get away from each other here. So 40 has managed to catch up after that little pit stop debacle. And is he going to make a move here? Probably not close enough. He's going to have to wait another lap.
So this battle still reigns on between the Racing Point and Williams team. Obviously, both these cars are powered by a Mercedes engine, as Eye Contrast goes faster with the 20.2. So he's obviously on fresh mediums as well. So we may even potentially see one of the drivers down the back of the grid chuck on a set of softs just to see if they can go fast lap and take that away from any of the other drivers, just to have that next to their name. Obviously, it gives you a little bit of confidence, I guess, or something to take away from the race if you're down out of the points. But we'll have to see if anyone opts to do that. John Polanin's up in a P4 now for McLaren, so he's doing a really good job at the moment, is John Polanin. Obviously, his teammate's just outside of the points at the moment, the same with Pepito, but he's catching up to the back of Darren. And Samu's obviously on those medium tyres, which is a softer and fresher tyre compared to Darren's.
He's very much a no-fuss driver, John Polainen. You don't realise he's there until all of a sudden he's up on the podium celebrating with the other two.
Yep.
You don't have to call his name very often during the race, but he's always there or thereabouts.
Yeah, so he's a pretty... I believe he hasn't had any incidents, so he's normally pretty consistent as John Polainen. He doesn't get in too many incidents. Well, normally they're not his incidents, if anything. He doesn't seem to cause or get into too much trouble. He has Spilly behind him, though, who I believe... Are they on the same tyre? So Spilly's on the hards and John Polanin's on the hards. Yeah. We'll swap this over to laps. So you can see who's got the more worn tyres. John Polanin's on 1 lap older tyres at the moment compared to Spilly.
Yeah, Geordie's making up a little bit of ground on those two as well. And then there's that 6-second gap between Geordie and Eye Contrast. So they are the groups at the moment. Zach Crichton down to Geordie, and then you've got Eye Contrast. He's in a nice little buffer there with 6 seconds between Geordie and 4.5 between him and Miku. Toddster's all over the back of Miku at the moment. So
Miku just overtook Toddster there as well, around the outside heading through turn 1. So pretty nice move there from the harsh driver. He now moves himself up into the top 8 in the Grand Prix. He obviously now, Toddster, has Pure Gold, Darren and Samu right behind him. Pure Gold on the medium tyre and Darren 11 on the hard, so he's not really pulling away at the moment as Pure Gold. He should, in theory, be pulling away pretty easily from Darren, but he is still getting DRS, and Slipstream here is the Alfa Romeo driver, so that's probably what's keeping him at bay at the moment. Zach Crichton starts lap 24 of 33, 9 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix. Looks like at this stage, if Zach... Oh, it looks like Josh is actually now making a move. So 40's making a move now on Josh, heading into turn 1 and going to go side by side. Oh, these two, they made contact there. Definitely GC 40. Now they're nearly half spun. That's 40, so he put the hand up in frustration there. Did the Williams driver, so they definitely made contact. I think Josh has backed off a little bit here. Has he? No, he hasn't. So I think... I'm not too sure what happened there between both of them. We didn't really have the best camera angle on stream, so... Looks like he's going to have to sit behind him for a little bit longer. So let's have a look to see what the ERS is going on. So Josh is on 10% ERS and 40 is on 20. So he's doing a little bit better, but not the best at the moment as the Williams driver. We could potentially see John Polinen catch up here if these two start battling.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner, that one, after turn 1. You go through turn 2, and then heading into turn 3, if you're still side by side, both of you need to get that angle to turn in to hit the apex so you don't go really wide on the way out. So very interesting that they touched wheels there. No, just a racing incident, I think. Nothing too untoward.
So I don't think, I think it will just be a racing incident, to be honest. But it looks like 40's got another really nice run here on Josh M97. Obviously, these two battling, it's just allowing Zach Crane to get a bigger gap. He's got a very nice run here. Has 40. Looks like Josh doesn't really defend it this time around. So I think what Josh would try and do here, just sit in the slipstream and DRS of the Williams in front and just try and save up his battery and potentially even make a late race maneuver, as there's only a couple laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream as well. If you guys aren't around here, hit that subscribe button, and there are the socials on the right hand side of your screen, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to go like them and chuck it a follow to get notified about any announcements that Race Spec has.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of good racing going on in Race Spec at the moment, and the Elite Series is quite a good showcase of that, as we can see. One, and he's still just managing. He's 3.8 behind the two that have been battling ahead now, so he's just eking a little bit of time out of that gap.
Oh, Toddy!
You never know, he might be there right at the end.
Sorry, Todd's just retired from the session, so we're going to ride on board with Matthew Dernier to try and find a virtual safety car now for the Grand Prix, but we're going to keep on board here with Matthew Dernier, as it looks like he's actually lost it a fair way down the track, so yeah, his tyre's gone on that Red Bull, so unfortunately for Toddster, he will now be the third retirement for the Grand Prix. He will not be happy whatsoever, will the Red Bull driver. So, unfortunately for him, he will be the third retirement from the race. Crossing now, 3-second penalty under safety car. So, that's going to hurt him a little bit down in P13. Obviously, he's not in points, so it won't really affect him too much, actually. He's currently got 4 seconds between himself and Plevs in P14, who had to make that first lap pit stop. As you can see, Josh M97. Sorry,
this is hurt John Polinen quite a bit here. I don't know if he's in a bad position for that virtual safety car to come out, but he's lost 2 seconds.
He has.
Just from that virtual safety car.
And so is Spilly as well. So I think this Delta glitch in the games unfortunately hurt him a little bit there. It doesn't really... Unfortunately, in this game, the Delta's not even for everybody, so it kind of does it on whatever the leader is, so it tries to keep an even pace between everyone and the leader, if you know what I mean. It doesn't. It should do it between the person in front of you, but it doesn't by the leader. So, example of Zach's heading through a corner at the moment, and John Polinen's down a straight. John Polinen will be forced to brake, basically. So it really doesn't help any of the other drivers behind, but hopefully they can rectify that for F1 2020 if that ever does come out. But we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. It's not a good situation, the virtual safety cars. You often, even if you go around a corner, sometimes it gets you to nearly parking to stay under the Delta, which is not realistic at all, and you lose a lot of time. That's happened to me in a couple of races now, and it's quite frustrating. So I feel the pain that John Polinen's probably feeling at the moment, thinking he was catching up and doing so well, and now he's lost a lot of that time.
And he's going to be a little bit more annoyed as well now, because Spilly is within DRS range of himself, so that's really going to test his patience here, is John Polinen. He's currently holding on to P4, and Spilly's going to be wanting to make this a Racing Point 3-4 here this afternoon, so he's going to be wanting to get some solid points here for the Racing Point team. I believe they are leading. Actually, no, they're not leading the constructor standings. They're on 86 points at the moment, 2 points in front of Red Bull and a couple of points behind Ferrari.
Just got a 3-second time penalty.
He did? Oh, okay, so that's interesting from Zach. Obviously, he has 4 seconds available to him, but he needs to keep pushing it and make sure that he doesn't get under 3 seconds. So I'm not too sure if 40 and Josh will have realised that, but we'll have to see if they can get that gap down to under 3 seconds. It's currently 4.6, so he's got about a second and a half in hand at the moment. Is that correct?
Darren 11's got one as well, so that'll hurt him with Sam Pepito right on the back of the Alfa Romeo.
He goes fastest now to Zach, so He is really starting to push now for 20.1, so he will take that extra point home, and it looks like Josh is going to go down the inside now on 40, heading into turn 1, and he's going to get that move done pretty easily here. Not really putting up a battle for each other, so it's quite surprising that they're just letting each other swap positions.
Yeah, might be playing the long game here. I mean, we don't have long to go, only 5 laps, but I reckon 40 might be trying to maybe make an overtake on lap 30-31 and then hold it for the rest of the race. So
I think that'd be the smart thing.
To see what happens between these two.
I reckon he just needs to build up his DRS as much as possible here. Does 40, just sit behind him for, as you said, till around that lap 32-31 area, and then just absolutely drain your battery and just try and pull away from Josh while he's using his battery to try and defend from you. So I think that'd be the smartest thing from 40 here. Just try and save up as much battery as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the tactic he's going to have to go with, as Josh is on 40% and 40's on, he's saving more than Josh at the moment, but it's about the same level, so he's got a couple of laps to build that up.
So Josh is actually going to get DRS here. Actually, will he? No, he crossed it before the DRS detection line, so unfortunately Josh will not get DRS here. He could have just got DRS, but he actually goes fastest now as Josh. I can't actually see the time because I'm on board with it was a 20.0, so that's a pretty quick time there from Josh, so he will be taking home that extra point. He's just reacted to Zach Crime's fastest lap, and now that gap's down to 4.1 seconds between Zach Crime and Josh, so if he loses a second or makes any mistake here to Zach, he's going to be affected. Geordie now a 3-second penalty down in P6, so he's doing a pretty nice job for Haas at the moment. Both Haases are in the top 10, so Gunter will be pretty happy with them getting some decent points here this afternoon as well.
This isn't working out for 40 at all. Josh has really stepped it up and he's using his DRS, and it's causing 40 to just try and stay in their DRS zone. And I think Josh maybe is trying to put Zach under pressure, knowing he got the 3-second penalty, and he's just gone for it. And 40's had to use his DRS just to keep up. So the plan might not be working now. So
Zach really needs to watch himself here. It's down to 3.6 seconds, so he hasn't got much time in hand. He really needs to get going. I'm not too sure if he's realised that the gap is closing, but he really needs to start pushing. There's only 4 laps remaining, 3 when they cross the line. So we'll have to see what happens here. Also, Josh is pushing pretty hard at the moment, so he could potentially get a penalty himself. If you don't mind, Chet, just quickly updating us again to see what the top 3 are doing with penalties of Zach and Josh and 40. That'd be great just to let us know. But Spilly's still sitting just within DRS range of John Polainen in front of him.
Yeah, Zach Crichton has the 3-second penalty, as we said before, but just looking through, and Josh and 40 have kept it very clean. They have no warnings or penalties, so they do have a little wiggle room there, and they can really push the limits in these final few laps.
So I think Zach's finally realised that these two are starting to catch up. There's yellow flag in Sector 1. That's the Ferrari. As you know, Alfa Romeo of Darren. So he's unfortunately spun around on the exit of Turn 1. So he is now unfortunately dropped all the way back down to P11. And now he's got Matthew Durney right behind him. So Darren, unfortunately, down to P12. So he will not be scoring any points here this afternoon. I believe he was actually in the points there, was Darren. So that's unfortunate for him. He was 9, so he would have been taking home some points for Alfa Romeo. There's yellow flag in Sector 3. I think that's just the local yellow. Zach now goes faster with a 19.9, so he has definitely responded to those two catching up, and he's now got that gap out to over 4 seconds. So he doesn't need to push too hard, but he just needs to make sure he stays around that 4-second margin just to have a safe little window in case he does make a little mistake.
Just watching Spilly here, he's just staying stuck to the gearbox of John Polainen, and I don't know if he's going to want to make a move soon. He's got 70% ERS, so there is possible for an overtake here. My positioning might be wrong because I still think I'm glitched with Pure Gold. I'm not sure where he is in the track. So
Pure Gold for me is in P10 at the moment. He's just been overtaken by the looks of it by Samu Pepito. So the McLaren is now up into P9 for the Spanish Grand Prix. There's now 2 laps remaining when they cross the line. Crossy's coming to the pits now, so I think he'll be going onto the soft tyre, trying to go for fastest lap because no driver has been on the softs yet. So I think he'll pretty comfortably get that off Zach Crichton. I think that could be... I wouldn't be surprised here if 40 has actually asked Crossy to even go and try and take it off him. So, obviously those two are teammates, and Crossy won't be scoring any points here this afternoon anyway, so it won't affect him too much, but Zach will now start the penultimate lap of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's been a pretty well-managed race here from Zach. He's led from the start. Obviously, he got himself that 3-second penalty, which he won't be too happy with, but it's been a pretty well-managed race here from Zach.
It looks like 40's run out of ERS and can't keep up with Josh, and he's out of DRS.
And now Spilly.
I think 40's going to have to settle.
So Spilly's now overtaken Jumper Linen.
And he's employed the 40 strategy that we thought 40 was doing, and he's overtaken his rival on lap 32 of 33, giving Jumper Linen not much room to try and come back.
So I think Jumper Linen will definitely still be happy with P5 though, considering where he started. He qualified P5, I believe, did Jumper Linen. I thought he qualified P6, and then Spilly was in front of him, but I'm not too sure what happened, and it says that he qualified P5, but we'll go with that. So I'm sure he won't be too disappointed with that. He's started where he qualified, so... Well, he's going to finish where he qualified, so he won't be too disappointed, I believe, as Zach Crichton now heads through the final chicane as Matthew Donia and Darren are actually swapping positions, because both of them are in the pit lane, so they are going to be trying to go for fastest lap here, but they might be in a bit of trouble because Zach Crichton is starting his penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and they might get lapped. He's actually starting the final lap of the Grand Prix now, Zach Crichton, so hopefully those two don't get lapped, or Crossy in front, so I'll have to see what happens with those.
Yeah, they won't be able to do a fastest lap. That's not going to work, because they'll be on an out lap when they finish.
Not too sure whether you go with ERSs at the moment, but looks like the top three are pretty much settled at this stage.
He's making a move on Spilly. Oh, a little bit of contact.
Oh, he's still there though, is Jumper Linen.
Went for it. He wasn't going to settle for that position, and he's tried to get past Spilly. Didn't quite work. There was contact. He had to back up.
So Crossy now, 3-second penalty down in P14. That won't affect him because he's got 48 seconds between himself and Swaggy's Ghost Car, so it won't really affect him that much, but it looks like Spilly will hold on unless Jumper Linen can get the absolutely best run possible out of this corner and try and dive him at the hairpin. Spilly just has to get this final sector nice and tidy, and he should be right. Geordie looks like he's going to come home P6, but Zach Crichton now heads into the final chicane. Don't think Crossy will go fastest either because he got himself a penalty, so he won't be able to get that for Williams. But Zach Crichton now through the final corner for the Spanish Grand Prix. He takes the win here in Barcelona. Congratulations to the Mercedes team. Josh M97 is going to come home P2 for Racing Point. Then it will be in P3, 40-22. Congratulations to our top three podium getters. Spilly's going to come home P4 as well. So very good job there from the Racing Point team coming home P3 and P4. John Polina will come home P5. He'll be very happy with that result. P6, Geordie F1 ahead of iContrast in P7. So I reckon driver of the day here will be iContrast, considering he started P13 and he's up into P7 now. So that'll be a one up for debate after this. So Miku's going to come home P8. P9 will be Sam P2. So both McLarens in the top 10. And rounding out your top 10 is pure gold for Toro Rosso. Matthew Donia is still heading through the final sector. 33 seconds separate himself and the Toro Rosso. So who do you reckon you're going to give driver of the day to here, Contender?
Well, it's one of those ones where do you give it to the guy who put himself on pole and then led from start to finish? And if you want the driver of the day, I guess you have to give it to that guy as he was the best driver. But if you want excitement or someone who's really gone above themselves in terms of their ability, I'd say, well, that's probably the wrong way to say it, but someone who's improved from their qualifying time, I'd go with iContrast, has done really well. Jump line and was solid all race. Probably one of those guys, but I think you have to give it to Zach Crichton just for managing the race and really doing quite well in the Mercedes and very Hamilton-like pole position and then finishing it off on race day.
Most definitely then. Also, I need to point out Matthew Downey got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well on the final lap of the race. Unfortunately, he came home P11, so he won't be able to take that extra point home, but he will take it off the driver that did get it in front of him, who I believe it was... Actually, I can't even remember now. I honestly can't, but I think it actually was Josh. I'm not too sure, but congratulations to our top three podium getters here at the Spanish Grand Prix. As we're going to try and do some post-race interviews here this afternoon as well. Has been requested by a couple of people in previous streams. But Zach Crichton takes the win for Mercedes ahead of the Racing Point driver of Josh M97, and then 40.22 came home P3 for Williams. That is your podium for the Spanish Grand Prix. P4 will be Spilly ahead of John Poline in P5. P6 Geordie F1 for Haas ahead of the Ferrari in P7, who actually finished in a Haas sandwich of Geordie and Miku. So both the Haas did a very good job to get themselves some points for P6 and 8. P9 Sammy Pepito and P10 will be Pure Gold. P11 Matthew Donia ahead of Darren 11. P12 13th Plebs ahead of Crossy and Swaggy was the last driver, but unfortunately I believe it was his ghost car driving around for him, and unfortunately the retirements from the Grand Prix was actually both the Red Bulls in the end of Aaron Toddstar and Bullet Boy and Renault and Chapelele. So both Red Bulls and both Renaults retired from the session, but we will be back with you shortly. We're just going to try and get the drivers into the commentary box here for you guys to get some post-race interviews. Right, so here we have our top three podium getters. Unfortunately, we're just waiting for Josh to join the party, but we have Zach Crichton, who won the Spanish Grand Prix, and 40.22, who came home P3 after a pretty much race-long battle with Josh M97. We'll start with you, 40. Unfortunately, just didn't look like you were able to get the job done on Josh today.
Yeah, Josh had pretty nice pace, so I kind of used him as a tow for the majority of the race, and I guess when it came for my time to try and overtake him in the final couple of laps, I made a little mistake, and yeah, I guess I had to consolidate after that. So P3 is still a good bag of points, and looking forward to next week at USA, I think it is.
Yeah, definitely. And did you know that Zach Crichton actually got a penalty halfway through that race?
Yeah, I heard when I think I overtook Josh about 3/4 of the way through the race, and I had a quick check on what Zach had then, and then yeah, I guess we just couldn't pull up to Zach, and yeah, I had to sit behind, unfortunately. So GG to Zach, he did well for another win, and yeah, hopefully I can compete with him next week.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to you now, Zach. So, congratulations on the win here this afternoon. I believe you only came home with the second and a bit. Yeah, just around a second. I don't know what the word is, but
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. You know what I mean. So you came home with the win at the end of the Spanish Grand Prix. What was going through your head once you got that 3-second penalty? Obviously, 40 and Josh M97 were absolutely clean, I believe. I don't think any of you's got any warnings from what we had a look at. So that was pretty good from both of you. But what happened there, Zach?
Yeah, so got that 3 second, but I was pretty happy with my pace. I could say I was pulling like 4/10 a lap. So I just had to push for a couple laps, try and go for fastest lap, and yeah, just try and get that gap above 3 seconds, which luckily I did. So yeah.
Yeah, so we've also got Spilly in here this afternoon as well. So congratulations on P4. I believe you managed to get in the end there with a little tight battle in the end with John Polina. So how were you going with that? It looked like you're a little bit quicker than John Polina. It looks like you also made a bit of contact heading through turn 1. So did you get any damage off that at all?
No contact. I think we actually ghosted, like, my left side of the car and his right side of the car ghosted. But I tried not making contact, but
yeah, okay.
Lag came into play.
Speaking of contact as well, we also saw 40 throw up the hand in frustration a little bit as well when he was making an overtake on Josh M97. What happened there? Are you going to point any fingers, or was it just a little racing incident?
No, I think Josh, he said in the Discord just then that his car ghosted during the thing, so obviously for my screen, I did make contacts with him, but yeah, if it's ghosted on your screen, you can't really help that, so
yeah.
I don't know, it's just something you got to put up with when you're racing from different parts of the world.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but yeah, Ken, do you have any questions?
No, I think you've covered most of it. I just wanted to ask, because we've got Spilly and 40 and they were in similar positions during the race. You were behind getting a tow from the guys in front of you. Were you trying to make sure that you're ahead sort of on that lap 31 with only 2 laps left so they couldn't overtake you again?
That wasn't the strategy at first. I just wanted to get past, but then it ended up that way.
Yeah, for me, I made sure that I was going to try and get past him about lap 31. I had enough ERS and fuel to make sure I could just bolt if I did get past him, but no, after that mistake in the final sector, I just fell a bit too far back and yeah, just decided not to make any mistakes or risks and just come home P3.
So just asking as well,
That's
real
good
quick.
to get
Sorry, you go.
Go. There you go.
I was just asking real quick as well. Did any of you all made it through the turn 1 little incident? I'm not too sure if any of you saw it. I think you're a little bit too far up. I'm not
I
too
think
sure.
that was at the back.
Yeah, okay.
Back
So
of the
just,
grid.
I didn't see
We're all
anything.
too good for the back of the grid.
okay. Fair enough. All right. What was your question there? Sorry, Ken.
I've forgotten now. It's all good.
Fair enough. Thank you guys so much for joining the party. Congratulations on your results here this afternoon. But that has been your Race Spec F1 Esports PS4 Elite Series here this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me as well, Ken, in the commentary box here this afternoon.
No problems. It was a great race and good to watch.
And we'll see you next week for round 8 at USA. My name is Expert, and I will see you guys next time.